All right.
Dr. Ted Noel.
How you doing?
I'm doing outstanding, my friend. Welcome to the program.
Well, glad to be here.
All right, I'm arranging my boxes to get you up on the screen, and there you are, right to the right of me, my friend Ted. Welcome to the show.
Oh.
Wow, you got a good background there. I like that, man. We had a guest a few weeks ago that put a towel in the back of in behind him. He thought he was going to make that a green screen. It didn't work out so well.
If you see me looking over to the right occasionally, that's where all the computer screens are.
Oh man. Okay, so it sounds like you're multitasking like me, doctor.
No, I was just making sure things were where they needed to be. And I've got, for example, I have a meter on the audio, so I can make sure that it's behaving itself.
Ah, good. That is outstanding. You don't know how much we appreciate that, because when you go on and a lot of people, they have all their settings right, and then the show comes on and they log in or tune in or get called up or whatever, and the audio goes zoop, and then we got to work on that a little bit. Well, doctor, welcome to the show, man. I found you perusing the internet, and that doesn't make it weird or anything. You don't really, you didn't intend to be an internet star, but by your own rights, you kind of got there. What happened?
Yeah, when you get 4.5 million views on a video, it does tend to do that to you.
Wow. Well, hopefully you got that monetized.
I got the second half of it monetized. I think I made $50.
Oh man, that's not even right. I've been broadcasting since 2004, and I didn't even know about the monetize button until like you just said halfway. I'm thinking, man, all those videos I put out there, what the?
Mm-hmm.
But
yep.
Well, anyway, a lot of views. People want to know, and you have an amazing sort of an instant credibility. People listen to you. They can't say you're crazy or you are a hater. I mean, all the useful euphemisms that somebody does if they hear something that's maybe something they object to. You have a believability, and certainly your credentials put you in that, give you that credibility right off the bat, and they'd have to attack your credentials to even to get to you. It's kind of like a fortress there, like a wall, like a big beautiful wall. Your credentials, so that you have what you have to say is good. But how did you get into that? Let's talk about this.
This is kind of a long story, but basic thing that happened was back in 2013 when my younger brother called me up after Hillary. He goes, "What difference does it make anyway?" And he calls me up and says, "That's a Parkinson's disease rage." I go, "Yeah, right." And brushed him off. Mm-hmm. And then we got the bobblehead video.
Right. With
the cold chai.
Right.
And then at the convention, you've got this one where her head goes way back and she does this thing.
Yeah.
And I'm going, okay, what's going on? And I looked around to see what people were talking about. And you've got Martin Shkreli, who actually is a credible source on this because he's been involved in Parkinson's disease research. Mm-hmm. And he says, this lady's got Parkinson's disease. But I still didn't know how to tell the story until I ran across Joe Biggs from InfoWars saying, the Secret Service said she's got Parkinson's disease and they're doing all these things to accommodate her. I go, okay, now I know how to tell the story. And so I figured out, how to put things together and learned a little bit about how you piece video together to make it work and put together that first big video. And it just took off from there.
Mm-hmm. Now, approximately how many videos have you done regarding Hillary's Parkinson's disease?
13 or 14. I've kind of lost track.
Now, is the one that got you started? And now on your website, was it the Vidzet?
Vidzet, like Video Gazette.
Videogazette.com?
It's Vidzet.
Okay.
Like Laura Ingraham has LifeZet.
Mm-hmm.
This is Vidzet.
Right. When we have a link in our bio section, and we certainly want people to click on it to go. But it seems that the way you explained it is that it didn't start out to be an analysis, more or less. It was almost like a tongue in cheek, but then something happened. And how did that go?
Well, actually what happened, I was starting to do videos. I wanted to do funny political ads for the web.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
And I had one where I have her with the bobblehead thing, and then a mushroom cloud, following it, and I voice over, and whose finger did you want on the nuclear trigger, in the transition. Mm-hmm. You get 100 views. Goes nowhere.
100 views. All right.
I did another one where I looked at all of the things she said about her server, and then you have Trey Gowdy saying, was that true? And you have Comey going, it was not true.
Right. Classic.
But I introduced it with her favorite philosopher who says, Maya Angelou, who says, when someone shows you who they are, you should believe them. And I put 2 different times she did that in there. And then at the end, I finish up with Frank Underwood from House of Cards going, lie after lie. I feel exposed like the skin on my finger where the ring used to be. Even Achilles was only as strong as his heel, and in that little bit dissolve into a picture of Hillary. I get 500 views.
500. Now we're up to 500. Okay.
But I don't remember the exact number, but it was trivial.
Right.
And then the Parkinson's things popped in. And I've got the background medically to be able to actually start putting things together. And one of the things I had to be careful about was, and I have a couple of videos on this. One is because I'm not her treating physician. Right. I can't say she has Parkinson's and that's absolutely correct. It just because I don't have access to certain information.
Right.
What I have to do is look at what's out there public and say what makes the best sense. And all of these videos are going, people are saying she's had another seizure. No, she doesn't. She doesn't have seizures. Well, she does. They shut down flash photography to keep her from having a seizure. No, they shut down flash photography to keep her from having a Parkinson's disease freeze. Different question.
Right.
But you put things together, and one of the things you have to do is put together what's called a differential diagnosis. What are the things that can cause what we see? And then you sort them to say what's most probable. And you also look at it, and I said, how to prove me wrong. I put a video and said, here's what you do. And it's basically you show a better answer for what we're looking at. And then I also said, here's how I put one out on how I analyze the data and go, I have to be very careful. And people will send me, look at this link, look at this link, look at that one. And you've got all of these links. And she may have done this a couple of times, just nodding her head 3 or 4 times. There's that tremor. No, the tremor was when she nodded it 408 times constantly sitting behind Joe Biden or whoever she was sitting behind. And, when Bloomberg counts 408 nods, there's something going on, and that happened to be a head nodding tremor. But you start looking at what's going on, and you have to be very careful and scientific. You can't take the iffy stuff. And there's a whole bunch of things. People ask me about that. Please, how do I describe that smile? There's no good way to describe that smile.
Now, are you talking about the smile from the last debate? Or these others?
Well, her usual creepy smile, and they go, "Is that Parkinson's disease?" I go,
"Creepy."
That's Hillary. I've watched it so much I cannot attribute it to Parkinson's. And they go, "Well, she's blinking so fast." No, Parkinson's has slow blinking. So you have to sort out all of the. What about this? What about that? And you get down to the things that are real. And some of the things that we see, for example, where she crosses her eyes and she does it again and again. At the Al Smith dinner, after the dinner, she's walking through the crowd. Camera caught her with a big time, twice, huge eye crossing. Really huge. And you go, that's real. So you put this stuff together, and then what I had to do was to tell the story. And so you look back in 2005 and 2009 and 2012, she has falls due to dehydration. No.
Really?
Give me a break.
I'm not a doctor, but I don't believe that one.
Well, okay, I'll give you 1 point on it, which was at the 9/11 memorial. They said it there. Give me a break. It was 78 degrees. She didn't sweat. She didn't bleed. She didn't wet her pants. She didn't have diarrhea. She didn't have vomiting. We just ran the whole list on how you can get dehydrated. She wasn't dehydrated. It's a lie. There's just no two ways about it. Yeah. It's a lie. And, so you'll start going, what else could cause this? And if she had Parkinson's disease and she froze, and basically in a freeze, your brain says, I can't process what's in front of me. And it locks up. I mean, just everything stops. Every muscle just locks up firm. And the brain reboots. and it may reboot in 5 seconds. It may take a minute.
Right.
And so at that point, she could have been doing something, froze, and toppled. Mm-hmm. Makes perfectly reasonable sense medically. Mm-hmm. I didn't see it. I don't have photos of it, but I know the things that happened.
Well, Doctor, hang on for a second, because you were going somewhere, and I love where you're going with this, but we were at the 500 count of your video. I want to go that thread, and I'm going to come back to where you're at, because this is great stuff. Okay, so 500, where are we going now? Okay,
well, once the medical stuff became apparent, and I had a way to start the story, mm-hmm. and some people have discounted, just InfoWars, they're a bunch of tinfoil hat specialists. Yeah, they do some tinfoil hat stuff. Mm-hmm. But Joe Biggs was simply saying, look, a guy in Secret Service came to me and said she had Parkinson's. I already had that diagnosis in hand. This gives me just a place to start the story. And if you're going to look at your ranting points, you've got to have a place to start it. Mm-hmm. If you can get the first sentence, the rest can flow.
Yes, exactly.
And this was what happened. Joe Biggs gave me the first sentence. Mm-hmm. Now I can tell the story. So I put this together, and it's careful. It's 16 minutes. I never expected it would take that long. Put it out, and I told people about it. And, people told people. And then at one point, I was getting 1 million hits a day. But, Google, impartial, we do nothing wrong, Google, never put me on trending. Not once. I was getting more hits in a day than people that had been trending for 3 days. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. For their whole time. Uh-huh. Never got trending. When you searched Hillary Clinton health, never came up. Oh yeah, they're honest. What can I say? 4.5 million views because people actually looked at it and said, there's something here. I want to share it with my buddy.
Yeah. Yeah, and shared it was. I don't know how many people on my Facebook feed came through and put your links to your videos. I mean, hooked me in there. I went to watch those, and and I like the way you say, because you say your credibility is like you've got it covered. You say, I am not her treating physician. Right. And so that eliminates a whole host of people saying, they would already say, well, you never treated her, so how can you even say what you say? But you've already eliminated that. Say, look, I didn't say that, and I'm telling you the way it is. I've got scientific data based on observation, and that's half of any analysis of an issue is observation. Does it fit? Right. And where does it not? And the problem is, Ted, and you and I both know this, that people make things fit that don't fit, and that makes their message not believable.
Well, see, but then you get one neurologist who looked at my first video goes, this is a crock of steaming equine excrement.
Oh, okay.
Well, why don't you say what you mean? At any rate, but he didn't say much else. Other neurologists say, you nailed it. But I got Parkinson's family members, caregivers go, you nailed it. And then others go, I'm glad you told us about these things, because my friend was doing these things and I told her to get checked, and now she's getting treatment. So those are the things that are really rewarding. But when I look at the issue, I got one guy says I'm an idiot. I've got 4 neurologists on my team. Now, this is purely a volunteer research group.
Okay.
And I have 1 neurologist in England. I have 1 in Belgium, a couple in the U.S. Mm-hmm. I have a neuropsychiatrist. This guy specializes in Parkinson's disease, and he helped me write what we call the differential diagnosis document. I mean, I've got a team of people who are subject matter experts, and they not only to mention family members, caregivers, and so on, and they're all going, you nailed it. And the one guy who thought I was an idiot is basically saying you don't have camptocormia, fancy word for being hunched over. Mm-hmm. You don't have bradykinesis, which means the slow shuffling gait. And, you don't have hypomemia where her face is like a mask. I go, right. Mm-hmm. But if you think about what a movement disorder specialist does, he tries to get the medication at a level where you take care of those things.
Sure.
Now the question is, what are you left with? And so you look at it, and what you're left with are the little things that every Parkinson patient gets. For example, you got a little bit of this pill rolling tremor. Well, they develop a habit of putting the hand against the chest, putting it on the other arm, holding things, doing various things to hide the tremor, to keep your hands busy. It's a tremor at rest. You get rid of that sort of a problem. So you look, and Hillary does all the things every Parkinson's patient does to hide the tremor. They all develop the same mannerisms. The other thing that happened is, and in my latest video on why it matters. I mean, if she's shaky, who cares? Right. That's not the issue. Right. The question is, why does it matter? And it matters because of what happens to her head. Parkinson's disease has on and off states. When you hit the off state, you can't make a decision. Period.
Okay, hold on. Is that what happened in one of the classic videos where something happened in the audience and she had this deer in the headlight stare? She didn't know what to do?
That's a freeze.
That's a freeze.
That's a freeze.
Okay.
She froze, and we have two documented freezes. That one and the 9/11 episode. Okay. What happened there, and freezes can come randomly.
Okay.
They can come because of a visual stimulus, or they can come because of stress. Can happen any of those times. And what happened there was a disturbance out in the audience. It caught her eye, it overloaded her, and she locked up.
Okay. Do you have an example of what you just said about the decision? Is there any video out there about that?
Well, okay. The off states, she hides. She only comes out in public during on states.
Is that why she has multiple days off?
Oh, yeah.
Trump always says she's going to take a nap, but really, what is she doing? She's going into off?
Nap.
Okay, she's taking a nap? Wow. Okay.
When you have an off state, one of the people who was involved in the genesis of this project is a really good friend who I talk to once, twice a week for an hour or more each time we talk about this. And he has bad Parkinson's. And this is a guy who was in the AV production business. And he had several very successful companies. They did AV production for rock stars, for political events, for trade shows, for, anything you can imagine. He was one of the big behind-the-scenes guys. So he had lots of money from all of this. And when his Parkinson's hit him early, he had early-onset Parkinson's. He had to give up his businesses because the off states prevented him from making decisions. I was on a radio show Friday night, and we had a Parkinson's patient call in, and he described this to a T. He says, when I hit the off state, I can't make a decision, period. The brain just isn't working. And so what you have now, if she truly has Parkinson's, and I believe she does, notice I said if.
Good, yes.
Okay. If she truly has Parkinson's disease, then she's going to have off states. And the problem there is, I don't care what your party affiliation is. I mean, people accuse me of having a political view somewhere to the right of Attila the Hun. I'm actually a libertarian in my view. But here's the deal. If Donald Trump had Parkinson's disease, I would tell him to go home, enjoy his family, and stay the heck out of public life.
You do the same. In other words, you're nonpartisan in that matter. You're talking about health issues and the preparedness and fitness of having the weight of the entire world in your sphere.
Parkinson's disease is a private hell for the patients and their families. There's just no two ways about it.
Sad.
It is a private hell.
Yeah, and I will say this right here. I don't know for myself, and I don't know anybody that's ever said, nor would they say, and if they ever did, I'd hang up or unfriend them or whatever, if they said that they are glad that Hillary has Parkinson's disease. I don't subscribe to that. I don't believe that. I don't want anybody for any reason to have any ill.
No, agreed. I mean, I do not want her in the White House, but that doesn't make a medical diagnosis.
Okay.
I want her to stay out for political and moral grounds. But at the same time, when I'm looking at this woman's physical signs, the terminology, if my stomach hurts, that's a symptom. If my eyes cross, that's a sign because you can see it. Signs are what you can see. Symptoms are what I feel. When I look at her physical signs, it's pretty clear she has a medical disorder that really requires her to sit down and put the country first.
What about those who say, well, FDR had polio?
Good question. Polio is a paralytic illness. It does not affect your mind.
Oh, okay.
And if we want to look at John Kennedy, he had Addison's disease. That's adrenocortical insufficiency. You supply the mineralocorticoids that balance out your salt and water metabolism, and you're fine. Now, this brings me to a piece of background. I'm not just a doctor. I trained in critical care medicine. Critical care is where you take people into the expensive care unit with the sickest problems, and you have to take care of everything that's going on. So I trained in that stuff along with doing my anesthesia training. In the operating room, the anesthesiologist is the internal medicine guy. He has to be able to understand every disease and how he has to interact with it. To give you an example with Parkinson's disease, because it's intimately involved with dopamine metabolism, and you require drugs to raise dopamine, I can't give a drug like Reglan, which is used commonly to prevent upset stomachs, because it lowers dopamine. Or I should say, it counteracts it. It has anti-dopaminergic effects. And so those are the simple things. But I have to be able to interact with every disease that comes to me.
Yeah. And I tell you what, man, if somebody's ever had anesthesia, I had to have some arthroscopic surgery on my legs, and man, you want to know that anesthesiologist knows exactly how much to give you so you can come back, man. I mean, they can operate on you, can feel pain, but there's one guy that has your life in their hands, and that is you, doctor.
That's why it only costs $5 to go to sleep. The rest is for waking up.
Wow. All right. Well, listen, we've got a couple questions come in, and I know, and I know we discussed before you come on, and we had a laugh about the tinfoil hat. So some questions may be in that realm. But let's go with one out of the live chat. And by the way, we're simulcasting on our TuneIn radio channel, which is audio only, and people are watching the show, and then they're interacting with our live chat. And here's one from the live chat. Can you talk about the head circular shot of the espresso incident?
You mean the iced chai or cold chai? Basically what happened there, and this is within the week before the convention, Hillary is off doing a public appearance. She's got a cup of chai in her hand.
Okay.
She answers one question. She starts to turn her head, and two reporters shout out a question at the same moment.
Right.
She goes into lockdown, but a secondary thing starts to happen. Because she's pumped up on her levodopa, that's the drug that's used to treat the motion problems. No, side issue.
Okay.
There are no treatments that change the progress of the disease. There's no cure, nothing to make the disease better. What you can do is make the motor movement, the movement disorder, easier to deal with. In any case, she locks down, and because she's got a high level of dopamine, and she's been on it a long time, many years, the levodopa, she gets what's called Parkinson's disease levodopa-induced dyskinesia. What a mouthful. Dyskinesia means bad movement. So it's related to Parkinson's disease. It's the drug causes bad movement to happen. That's what that phrase means. Yeah. And so she locks, and then her head goes this way. That thing. That is the dyskinesia. I had two patient families tell me that that's exactly what they see in their family member with Parkinson's. That's one of those movements that they see. And my neuropsychiatrist also commented that that was a common movement. But that's a dyskinesia coming from an overdose of the medication. Now, if you'd put up that slide I sent you with the curves on it, I can explain things a little bit better here. Let me know when you're up.
I don't have that prepared, but go ahead.
Okay. Well, then I'll take my original super scientific hand drawing here. I got to come up where we can see this.
Okay, we can see that.
Now, this is a generic drug administration form.
Okay.
And basically what you're looking at when you start at the beginning, you give a dose, it'll come up, and then it comes back down.
Okay, see that?
Okay. And you see these two dashed lines.
Yeah.
You got to get above the level for the lower line to have the drug to have an effect. Mm-hmm. You don't need to go above the upper one. Because when you go above the upper one, you see the red cross hatching.
Yeah.
That's where you start to see side effects. Mm-hmm. Now, the problem is, as you can see from this, if I give just enough to not quite get into side effect territory, it will come back down fairly quickly. You can see the time it's above the first line is fairly short. So I say I want to get it above that first line a whole lot longer, which is from here all the way over to there. And in order to do that, I have to give a bigger dose, which takes it way up here. Guess what? I'm now into this red crosshatch area where all of the side effects come, mm-hmm. the dyskinesias. Mm-hmm. And so in order to get a long enough period here, where I am actually here, where I'm above the lower line, I have to go way above the upper line because it's going to wear off.
Yeah.
And this is somewhat unique to levodopa. If I look at other medicines, every medicine known to man follows that kind of curve. Mm-hmm. The thing of it is, a lot of medicines are very stable in the way that they behave. Mm-hmm. So, for example, if I have high blood pressure, I'll take my Cozar or my Bistolic or whatever else I'm on, and within 3 days, those curves start to overlap and meld together to where instead of going up and coming back down, it goes up and stays flat. And so for for high blood pressure, I can set up and get a stable level that just stays forever. Mm-hmm. No problem. Levodopa doesn't behave that way. There are a whole handful of things that can mess you up when you take your medicine with relationship to meals. Okay. How much you took. Did you sleep well last night? That may be pushing it a little bit, but how long have you been on this dose? Because what happens is if I start on a given dose, I may get a certain amount of time, and as I stay on it for week after week, the time gets shorter and shorter and shorter and shorter and shorter. So now I got a problem. I get a short burst when I go up. When I get below that lower dashed line, now I'm back in the off state. Mm-hmm.
Well, tell me, what state do you think she was in on the 9/11 event where she collapsed?
Okay. I think what really happened there was she got pumped up with enough levodopa to look good.
Okay.
One of the things about the off state is a lot of times the patients can feel it starting to get close. Now, she told her crew she wanted out of there. Mm-hmm. Presumably, she felt not well for some reason. Mm-hmm. And then we're left to guess what the real reason was.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
If she was on levodopa and the level was coming down, she might feel the off state coming close and say, I want to get out of here before this off state is obvious to other people.
And she broke protocol to make that happen.
Actually, I'm not sure she did.
Didn't they say that she was ahead of the Secret Service entourage, and that broke protocol because they're supposed to be waiting for her, and she had to wait for them?
Well, somebody blew their job. They knew she was walking, and they're supposed to be able to get the Scooby van there so that when she arrives, she goes straight in. Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I can hear that. Oh, we got Hillary on the move. Hillary on the move.
Get the van ready. Boom,
Scooby
boom,
van.
And they should be able to be there in 10 or 15 seconds. And I guarantee you it took her a minute to walk over.
Except for they need to relabel her big tour bus when it was down in Georgia to the Scooby-Doo in the middle of the street. Okay, because Scooby-Doo was doing a whole bunch in the middle of the street down there, Doc.
Yes, and that goes to competence, which is a different question. She couldn't even hire people who could empty the dump tank in accordance with the law.
No telling what kind of meds was flowing out of that stuff.
Well, I'm sorry when when you hire incompetent people, you get incompetent results. Mm-hmm. But it also tells you how competent you are. You will recall
your leadership, your choices.
The reset button she gave the Russians was misspelled.
Well, and a whole lot more.
That's how bad that was. She couldn't even get somebody who was a native Russian speaker to say, yes, here's how you do reset. Mm-hmm. Which would have taken somebody one phone call. In any case, where were we?
We were talking about where she was on your graph in the 9/11 event.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because I'm thinking, I'm in Florida, you're in California. Okay. Sorry, I'm a little bit of a cut up at times.
Oh, great. Welcome to the show. I like it.
In any case, okay, so she's feeling not well.
Okay.
She heads for the exit. The Scooby van's not there. It's 10 seconds later something. And she runs into one of the classic descriptions of what will set off a freeze. And the description basically goes like this. If you're walking down a hallway and you come to a cross hall, it's common to freeze at that point because things look different.
Okay, yeah.
So what did she do? She walked down the hallway in a hallway, if you will, over to the curb. There's the cross hallway called a street. Things look different. She freezes. And again, caregivers, family members, and patients look at this and go, yeah. And one of them, when you look at my Why Does It Matter video, there's a fellow I call Joe. I've changed his name to protect the innocent. And he talks about Aunt B. When she freezes, she said Hillary looked just like Aunt B.
Wow.
And he says, if you try to move Aunt B during a freeze, you have to break her leg to bend it. Everything's locked up that rigid. Mm-hmm. And what happened was she gets to the street, she freezes. The van's not there. So they've got to steady her. What do? They lean her back slightly against the bollard. That's that concrete post.
Right.
And the lady on her left grabs her left arm to keep her from tipping this way.
Mm-hmm. True.
The van comes flying up. Notice the Secret Service. Everybody there is. Oh, here we go again.
Yeah, I saw that. It was so nonchalant. Here,
they were absolutely blasé.
It was.
There were two people in that scene who were not blasé. They were both New York police officers. They were what's known in the trade as the bosses. They had the brass on their caps, and when they see her there, they come flying over. Can we help? Mm-hmm. Then what happens is you've got people on both sides of her trying to move her forward, and it doesn't work. Take something here. Imagine, if you will, she's leaned this way.
Yes.
And you start to bring her forward. What happens? Her head goes up. Mm-hmm. She's propped against something. Her head goes up. She falls back this way once, and then they get her, and she falls over this way. And if you look at the relationship between her head and her torso, it does not change. It's absolutely wooden all the way through this entire sequence until she disappears from view. But what's also a problem for her story, not only do you have people on either side of her helping her, you have another guy comes right in front of her. That is an absolute no-no. You never get in the path between the protectee and security. Mm-hmm. Never do. What does he do? He catches her to help carry her into the van. He landed there because he knew what was happening.
Now, was he the one guy that always appears at different events? Was that the guy?
The guy you're talking about is the heavyset black fellow. Mm-hmm. Okay, that
Who
guy.
Is he?
has been identified as a Secret Service agent. And if you watch him very carefully, you can watch him. I really spent a lot of time watching him in the video from the last debate. He's got the spaghetti in his ear, so he's Secret Service. You see that thing come with the little coiled thing up here in the earpiece.
I want one of those too.
And when you look at what he's actually doing, Hillary is here, and this guy is scanning out there and scanning out here. He's acting like a Secret Service agent. The fact that he is overweight is a different question, and maybe he's a senior guy, well experienced, and they just decided that, hey, we'll live with it. Who knows? But he acts like a Secret Service agent. The thing he's got in his hand is very clearly a small flashlight. It's not an injector pen.
Well, we knew that question was going to come, so you just wiped that out.
It's not an injector pen. Absolutely, unequivocally not. Take that tinfoil hat off. That is a small flashlight. And most likely it's one of those that has a button on the base, so you can press that button to point it. And you hold it, you point it, and you look here. The key here is he's using it to light the pathway where she's going to walk. One of the problems in Parkinson's is that your feet, you tend to get freezes where your feet are effectively stuck to the floor. And there are several ways that you can make this go away. One is to use a laser pointer and say, step on the dot.
Isn't there a video of her coming out of one of the debates where somebody was using a flashlight down the hallway?
You see it on the second debate, and you see it leaving the convention. When she's got everybody in that whole crowd up on stage and she starts to walk away, you see him shining it right in front of her. Not all of the videos include that, but it's very clear that's what he's doing. So that's not an injector pen. That's a light, and you can use a small flashlight to light an area of the ground. Step on that, and you just keep it moving slightly in front. There is a cane that is sold for Parkinson's patients, which has a laser pointer on it, which doesn't point a dot. It puts a whole fan, a single line, like one of those laser levels.
Yeah.
And it puts his line sideways, and as you move the cane, there's the whole line. Step on the line, move the cane, step on the line. And that allows you not to freeze when you're walking.
Okay. All right. I'll tell you what, let's get to a couple quick questions that come in while we were talking. And here's one that says, we mentioned the tinfoil hat, but is there any possibility that there are Hillary doubles taking her place?
Go ask somebody else.
Okay. All right.
I decline to go there. I constantly get people sending me stuff. It's a double. Yeah. This one is much lighter than that one.
Right. And then, okay. All right. Now, how about this one here? Does she have any type of bag underneath her clothes?
Okay, that's the argument. Does she have a bladder catheter and a leg bag? There are a couple of shots that show an oddball crease in her pants leg. It's an oddball crease in her pants leg. That's all I can say. I have no information beyond that, and speculating on what it is does nobody no good.
Right.
Absent other information. I mean, if it was a leg bag and for some reason it broke and soaked her pants, then you'd say, oh, that's what that was. But trying to make it into a leg bag because you saw an oddball crease in her pants leg that's a leap too far for me.
Okay. And here it says, this is from Me Too out of live chat. It says, do you detect that there's a use of Botox because when she comes back from debate, her wrinkles are gone, it almost looks like different skin going on there?
Okay. There's two things to look at there. The first one is, when she comes to the debate, she really has her hair done professionally. Really, I mean, somebody's taken a lot of effort to make it look good. The second thing is that at the debate, the first and third debates where she had a podium, there's a light on the podium. Your video production people will tell you that is a fill, F-I-L-L light. Mm-hmm. And the idea is it's to give you light from from below up here at the chin and the face to wash out wrinkles so that you don't see wrinkles. Donald just chose not to turn his on.
Well, you just eliminated that conspiracy question too, because that was going to come up. Many people are saying that's a hidden teleprompter.
That I know, and that takes me to another point. I have four professional video producers who have helped me with things along the way.
Mm-hmm. And it's really good that you handle these questions like that, because you will not veer off the science of the matter, and that really is keen to your credibility, and that's what I really liked about when I first saw you. Here's another one. It says I don't know about this one here. It says, was Hillary in handcuffs at 9/11 Memorial when they basically picked her up and put her in a van? I forget that one. But how about this? Was there an object that dropped out of her pantsuit onto the street?
I have seen a couple of videos that supposedly say that. When I first watched the video, even the one that was close up, it wasn't there. I'm wondering if somebody photoshopped that in.
Okay.
I don't know. I'm guessing. Mm-hmm. When we look at photoshopping, I mean, not Saturday Night Live. What's the late night show?
Late Night with Jimmy Kimmel?
Yeah, I think that's it.
I don't know what it's called.
I mean, one night he showed videos of her eyes going in every direction playing Photoshop games. I saw one of the cold chai incident where he look at her eyes and he got one going there and one going there and going, somebody played games with it. Now, at that incident, her eyes did cross, and that's another dyskinesia. The crossed eyes are a dyskinesia.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I saw one eye going one way, one eye going the other way. I was wondering what that was.
Yeah, well, the crossed eyes, remember, when I talk about this, when you get up into that crosshatch segment, that's side effect territory. And with side effect territory, you're looking at primarily what we call dyskinesias. At least the motion side effects. There are others. The motion side effects are dyskinesias. They're bad movement. The thing where at the balloon drop, where she jerks back across and back up with the wide open mouth and the bug eyes.
Yeah, that was weird.
That's a dyskinesia. Okay? Incidentally, if you watch that one slowly, and by the way, I'm going to give a plug for a website.
Good.
It's called ROWVID, ROWVID. I have no connection with it, but I found it to be a very valuable tool to look at videos, because you can go close to where you want to be. You can look at a video at double speed,
what's that
half
called?
speed, at quarter speed. ROWVID, ROWVID.com.
Interesting.
It's free. I have used it a lot, and it allows me to sit and look at things in slow motion to see if what I think I've seen is real. And it even has frame-by-frame steps, if you want to use those. Incidentally, the Association of American Physicians and Surgeons today is pointing all of its members to a little 3-minute video that was taken of her on the campaign plane, the last one. And they're saying, please look at this. Better yet, look at it on ROWVID at 1/4 speed, and then we have a survey for you to fill out. And the basic point is, does she have a neurological disease? That's the key. And I think that answer is going to come up an emphatic yes. And at that point, we have news that may have a hard time being suppressed.
Wow.
All right. I've been involved in getting that going. In any case, where was I? Dyskinesias, the eye crossings, and so on.
Yeah.
Okay, those are motion disorders. Those are motion dyskinesias. Those are the side effects involving motion. Those aren't all the side effects. Remember what I'm looking at for drug effect. What I'm actually looking at here is not blood level of the drug, because what happens with levodopa is that it has to be taken into the body, get into the brain, and then be converted into dopamine. Now, dopamine is a neurotransmitter, and the problem with Parkinson's disease is that the substantia nigra which is part of the coordination center, starts to lose cells, and it's where a lot of dopamine is made and sent to various coordination parts of the brain. Mm-hmm. As you lose that, you lose smooth movement and so on. But guess what? When I give levodopa, I raise dopamine, and then it falls back down. Mm-hmm. There's another drug that does that.
Yes.
Cocaine.
Interesting.
When people get a high from cocaine, it's because they have high dopamine in their brains. Now, if dopamine is high from levodopa in Parkinson's and from cocaine from snorting, mm-hmm. what kind of behaviors might you suspect would happen with the high level of levodopa that's necessary to do this, so that you get the long period that's good for a campaign stop or an hour and a half debate? Mm-hmm. You're going to get all the stuff that comes from a cocaine high. You get impulsive behavior.
Okay.
In many cases, you get hypersexuality.
Okay. Hey, Doctor, we're right at the top of the hour here. We take about a 5-minute break.
Okay.
Tell us about your website, how to log on, or where it is, and what they can find there.
Okay, the website is vidzette.com, real simple. Mm-hmm. And it's all of my videos are linked there. I've got a couple of documents that are important, the differential diagnosis document and so on. Mm-hmm. And, you go there, you don't have to log in. If you want to be a member, that's fine. Mm-hmm. That'll allow you to post comments. But all the videos are there in sequence. And, if you don't see one that you heard about, go down and look. You can pull it up on the archives.
Okay, very good. All right, we're going to our break here. You'll be out of the picture, but still on the line. So we'll see you in about 5 minutes.
All right.
All right, everybody, you're watching and or listening to the Edge Television broadcast on our Newsmaker line live via Skype is Dr. Ted Noel. Be sure to drop by his website and click on all the things that he has and watch those videos, man. I mean, you talk about information. Wow, what a first hour we have. And welcome back to the Edge Television broadcast. If you missed any of the exciting first hour, it'll begin to replay in our main player on the website directly after the show. We'll extract the high-definition video, put it up on our YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. You can follow me on Twitter and Facebook as well, and Instagram. Also, we'll put up the audio format of it on our TuneIn radio broadcast station, which airs our shows 24 hours a day. You can listen across any device, any platform. That's TuneIn Radio. Be sure to subscribe to that there. And for those of you who love podcasts, certainly we have a link to you. If you don't have if you don't have a podcast app, it just basically it fills your device with our audio whenever we upload those. Now let's go back to our live Skype line and welcome back Dr. Ted Noel. Doctor, welcome back. Hello, Doctor. Doctor, welcome back. Can you hear me now?
Okay, hang on a second here. I took an alternate way of getting audio and okay, can I hear you? I think so.
Yes, can you hear me now?
I got you now.
All right, we are back online live via Skype. Dr. Ted Noel. Doctor, welcome back. Wow. Man, I feel like I'm a clinician right now after listening to the first hour. I don't know if I can graduate with a PhD or what kind of degree I get, but man, you got some good stuff. And you still got some humor in there, but you're dead level on, you won't veer into the conspiracy tin hat, conspiracy theories, but those vastly outweigh the scientific analysis that will plainly tell a story and tell the true story. And that's a story that we should want. Wherever the truth leads us is where we should go, and not interject our own biases and be walking around with a lie and spread stuff that doesn't make any sense or is non-provable. Because this is a very serious situation. We have somebody so close to the White House with evidently a disease that can inhibit them from making the right choices that can affect the entire planet.
Mm-hmm. Big time problem. I mean, mental issues in Parkinson's are a big deal. One of the real common problems is something that's called set shifting. That is, give an example. Let's suppose she's in a cabinet meeting and they're talking about farm subsidies. Word comes in that the Russians have shot down an airplane. Now she's got to change subjects.
Mm-hmm.
Can she change the subject? Maybe. But then let's say that the general gives her a perfectly proper briefing. We have a problem at this point with whether she understood what he said. It's a real big problem.
Mm-hmm.
And she'll have slower performance, decreased accuracy, and once she deals with that, if she goes back to the other one, she can't just pick it back up. Mm-hmm. She doesn't have the ability to do that. She may have to start from the very beginning to work her way through it.
Mm-hmm. Well, on that issue, I mean, when the President of the United States speaks, a protocol dictates that you give them the respect, whatever they say, as an intelligent response. You know, you refrain from criticizing, or you say yes sir, yes ma'am. I mean, and if she says, I want to nuke North Korea, or who did I say I wanted to nuke? I mean, we're not sure, ma'am. Who would you like to nuke? Rather than that doesn't make any sense. Who's going to say that to her?
Well, the real problem there is how do you couch it? Because your boss just said to go do something. And probably what he has to do is come back and say, ma'am, let me make sure I understand what you said.
Mm-hmm. And
then walk through it. And hopefully then he can get a better answer. But you see, you don't need to have that going on. That is a mental impairment that we don't need in the White House. And that's the minor side of it. Mm-hmm. Remember, when the dopamine is high, you end up with impulsive behavior. You can also get depression, anxiety, sleep disturbances,
mm-hmm.
and
impulsive behavior.
Depending on which drug they use to help out, all of this can get worse.
Let me key in on that impulsive behavior. Several Secret Service agents who have been around the Clintons have written books that have many pages of impulsive behavior, including throwing objects, screaming at people, telling people to F off. Is this the type of, or is this just a character?
I don't know.
Is it character, or is it?
I don't know whether that's just her.
Mm-hmm. Just being a nasty woman
type
of thing.
A personality disorder of some sort there. I think it's fairly clear that she has an antisocial personality disorder. Mm-hmm. And part of the characteristics of that is an habitual lying with complete disregard for the rights of others.
Mm-hmm.
And that is would not be a surprise there. I know I've read Gary Burns' book. But those things are big. The impulsive behavior, for example, you end up with people that gamble. You can't have a gambling president.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to make a military decision to invade. I'm gambling on. No, you can't do that. Half of them get depression and anxiety. You can have obsessive compulsive behavior, social avoidance. You can have disinhibition. That's a big fancy word that says you have no controls over what you do.
Mm-hmm.
And you've seen people who are kind of the life of the party.
Mm-hmm.
And these people are in what's called a manic state, and it does not matter. Everything is fine. And that's called disinhibition. Or, for example, the drunk who gets garrulous and happy, that's a disinhibited drunk, that kind of a thing. And they have a real problem reasoning from cause to effect.
Mm-hmm.
And for example, that if you put your hand on a hot stove, you're going to burn your hand.
Okay.
Well, that if-then step, it's only one step. It's very simple. They may have trouble with it and put their hand on a hot stove anyway.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
When it's totally avoidable. They just... So you have a severe level of mental impairment that can come along. And it comes and goes. Mm-hmm. As Joe said about his Aunt B, when her meds are right, she looks perfectly normal. When she goes away from her meds being exactly right,
mm-hmm.
she doesn't live there anymore.
Let me ask you something. There are Hillary images, Google search images, bazillion of them. For those that we can kind of tell they're not Photoshopped, there seems to be pictures of her without medicine because she looks completely different than somewhere like, say, the last debate. Well, there's, besides the smile that creeped everybody out, everything else seemed normal.
The easiest example of that is the debate where she had the campaign event where she had the freeze.
Mm-hmm.
The hairdresser for that event should have been shot. And the makeup artist sent to Siberia. She looked horrible. And that's not photoshopped. But when she came into the debate, she looked very well made up.
Okay, well, I don't know if this goes into your conspiracy analysis, but there are pictures of her in the crowd at 9/11. And
Yes.
the body double thing came up when she came out of Chelsea's apartment.
Right.
Completely. Hey, it's a beautiful day in New York City. Hey,
Okay.
her hair was nice. Her skin was.
Well,
what
yeah,
happened?
The argument there is that the lady who came out wasn't her, it was the double because she's thinner.
Mm-hmm.
And I recognize that there are shots where she looks thin. I mean, at the debate, she looked like Tubby.
Mm-hmm.
Was that because she had a bulletproof vest on under everything, or is it just what it, was it
Well,
the double? I don't know.
She must have had a makeup artist and a pharmacist up in Chelsea's apartment. That's all I can say.
Well, but here's the thing. Remember what I've said. When she, no, I'll use a different item here.
Okay, bring it up. What do you got?
When she froze and tipped over, she was incapable of doing anything on her own. And the departure from the scene to start with probably came because she started to feel an off state coming. How do you fix an off state? You take a dose of levodopa. Or you get a shot of something called apomorphine. Trade name is Apokyn, APOKYN. And that can boost you up within 5 to 10 minutes. But remember, she got in the van and was reported to have been awake and talking within 10 minutes in the van.
Did she lose a shoe under the van?
Yeah.
And
Think
is that
about
because
what
of this?
happened. She tips forward. They drag her in. Her
She
shoes
fell
are
out of her shoe.
Right. That's the same posture that you see in the shots in the Getty images from early in the spring where she's being dragged up the steps. Her right foot is off in that position again. It's just back there. They're hauling her up, and if the shoe falls off, the shoe falls off.
Well, doesn't there have to be a number of people that are aware of her condition?
Yes.
Because like we discussed at that 9/11, when she was outside the Scooby-Doo dump van, they were just walking around like, oh, okay, well, I'll just walk over here. Here's a candidate. She could have been shot. By the way she looked, somebody looking afar says, something's happened to the candidate. We've got to run over there. But there's like, okay, I'll just move you over here, and you move over there, and we'll get her in there.
Yeah, well, see, the point is that her regular protection detail knew what was happening. They were totally unruffled by it.
So we're going to read it. We're going to read
Reagan getting shot. Let's hurry. Let's tend to something. It's okay. Here we go again.
So we're going to read a book. We're going to read a book about it in a couple of years by one of those people.
Probably will, but it's routine. We know what's going on. No big deal. And yeah, we got to bring her over. Oh, we lost a shoe. So what? Not a big deal. And then once she gets on the Scooby van, wakes up from her, reboots from her freeze. They can give her a pill of levodopa. She takes it, and within an hour, it's up doing its job, and she can walk outside and greet the little girl who was planted out there.
Planted, definitely planted. So does it enhance your physical, your visage?
No. What happens is, once again, when we talk about getting your dopamine levels up between those two lines, if you're one of those people who is not yet way down at the end of the trail, you can look very normal. But if you started and she says, I feel it falling down here, I'm going down, she freezes, she knows what's going on, somebody says, do you feel like you're getting toward the off state, or they even just looked at it? We've seen it so many times. Here's your pill. Take your pill. She takes her pill. And probably if she had reached the off state, she wouldn't have been able to say, yes, I need to take a pill. They would have just handed it to her. Here, take your pill. She swallows it down, and within 45 minutes, she's normal.
All right, let's take another question. This is from live chat as well. Does she have any symptoms that would indicate MS?
Okay. And I'm going to correct the question slightly. It's signs. Signs are what I see. Symptoms are what she feels.
Okay.
And the answer is possibly. there are three diseases that are on the top of the differential diagnosis. Parkinson's is the top. The second one is called progressive supranuclear palsy. The third one is multiple sclerosis. And the problems with MS and PSP are this. MS gives you, between this morning and this afternoon, a different set of symptoms sometimes. Certainly between this week and next week, you get something different. Mm-hmm. And so the fact that we see a fairly consistent set of symptoms, signs, a consistent set of signs, mm-hmm. says that it's almost certainly not MS. I will say it is against, that's one check mark against MS. For PSP, the problem with it is that it's a very rapidly progressive disease and people will frequently die within 5 to 8 years. Mm-hmm. Parkinson's, there are people who've had Parkinson's for 50 years.
Oh, that's good to know.
So you can go a long time with Parkinson's disease, mm-hmm. and its progression is variable. The dyskinetic movements we see probably are due to having had levodopa for a minimum of 5 years and probably 10.
This question here is interesting. It says, is this why the crowds for Hillary are small? Are they being kept deliberately small to prevent a seizure?
No. The thing that they're keeping out of the crowds is flash photography. Because flash photography is a visual disturbance that can set off freezes. Mm-hmm. People have worried about flashes setting off seizures. And there are photosensitive seizure disorders. Mm-hmm. But this is an issue of Parkinson's because just like that disturbance in the crowd set off a freeze, mm-hmm. a flash can set off a freeze. And so they're very careful not to allow flash photography because with the flash, she might lock up. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And everybody'd see her totally locked up for 15 to 30 seconds.
Recently, now this very into the world of the unknown, a 9-page expose just recently appeared in the Inquirer. Sean Hannity had the paper editor on his show indicating that there may have been multiple sexual liaisons between the previous first lady, Hillary Clinton, women and men, and of course Bill and his escapades. Through that, could they have got STDs? And there's any indication that she has a result? What would we say? Signs or symptoms? Symptoms.
Well, you're looking for signs. Signs mm-hmm. are what you and I see. Mm-hmm. STDs, you have chlamydia and some of those others which have local problems. Mm-hmm. The one that would give you neurologic signs is tertiary syphilis. And wow. Tertiary syphilis is characterized, among other things, by what's called tabes dorsalis. And tabes dorsalis is a foot-slapping gait where they walk and they slap their feet because they don't feel them well. You see something a little bit like that sometimes in diabetics. But that's the only thing I can think of that would come along even in the same zip code. And hard to say.
Okay, moving on. Of course, Donald Trump is known for some outlandish, perceived outlandish. And who knows if he's back in 20 years ago, maybe 30. I mean, his type of demeanor is say coming out of World War II, where you had they used to paint women on the sides of the World War II bombers, and that right. got our guys go over there and win the damn war. Okay, because of that, they were motivated. So his language might have worked then, but he has been calling recently for drug testing he was calling for drug tests before that last debate. Does he know something?
What she was pumped up on.
Yeah. Does he know something? Or maybe he's been watching your has he been watching your videos?
That his team has seen my videos, and I'm quite certain that Hillary's team has seen them. And they're probably using them as education to say, here's what they're picking up on. Let's see what we can do to avoid having this happen.
Well, along that realm, Dr. Ted, have you seen any indication that they don't like you?
I got an email today, which was kind of strange. Somebody asked about whether I'd had any disciplinary issues related to my hospital privileges or license. Mm-hmm. And it says, I'm investigating you.
What?
And I'm going, huh? I mean,
Well, they just cut the internet from Assange over there on WikiLeaks. They're putting out the notice, don't mess with us. I mean, is that, do you suspect it was just a hoax, or do you suspect somebody is in the background right now doing the dirty work intel on you?
I have no clue. And remember, the people who got dead around the Clintons had secrets.
Well, you don't have any secrets. You're certain. I think where you obviously probably come up on the radar with the amount of views you have.
Yeah, I'm a thorn in the side, but actually, I had one guy write to me and say, "You're helping them by telling them what to hide." So I'm not going to tell anybody what's going on.
You're empowering millions with the truth. I mean, that seems to be a better.
And there are
way to look
some
at it.
people I'm able to help in their sufferings with Parkinson's disease.
Mm-hmm.
That's the most rewarding part of this, frankly.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's interesting. I had a guest last week in the second hour who obviously was delusional at some point. And I really, Doctor, you probably didn't see that video, watch that show, but
Yeah.
I had to stop and I changed my whole direction because he was saying some outlandish things, which seemed he's kind of known for that. But then it dawned on me that there is instability there on an order that should not be just gone along with. And I stopped and I changed the way I was doing the interview as a result of that. So, I mean, that's kind of where you're heading, it seems.
Well, I have to be careful. I mean, if I come up with outlandish things and just go out outlandish, somebody can point out it's outlandish and then I get nothing. I take it as a badge of honor that Snopes said I was an idiot. Mm-hmm. But they had a reporter who knows nothing about medicine write the article. Mm-hmm. Snopes is a left-leaning site. They say I'm an idiot. Thank you. We'll move on.
Yeah. They seem to be apologists, really. I mean, they're always, there's nothing. Everything's fine. Move along. Hillary's not a liar. She doesn't got 30 years of scandals. She's not paying. She didn't give uranium to the Russians. Just move along. Move along.
Well, let me go sideways for just a moment, because you talk about scandal, and the big scandal out there that they try to pump up is Donald Trump and the women.
Okay.
What did he say on the bus? Remember his exact words. When you're famous, women let you do anything.
Okay.
He told the truth. There are a class of women that we would loosely call gold diggers or groupies.
Groupies, right. And every rock band has them. Every star has them. They're everywhere.
When you're famous, there are women who will come to you and offer everything. And they want their 15 minutes of fame. They are known as sociopaths. They are antisocial behavior disorder patients. And that can be up to 3.5% of the population.
Okay,
now,
well, that's
because every one of the accusers, now I don't know about the number 9 yet, but the point is every one of the accusers I've known about has been proven to be telling a lie. Mm-hmm. These are sociopaths. Donald was right about what he said, and these women are looking for their 15 minutes of fame, and they are sick women being abused by another sick woman, and I'm not talking about her Parkinson's, I'm talking about her sociopathy.
Mm-hmm. And I don't really know which is worse, because in either case, either in a state of mental illness, she could wreck worldwide relations, or through some animalistic hatred for certain parts of the population. I mean, when you're calling 50% of the population is deplorable, and not only that, but irredeemable, you put them in a place of subhuman, in that you can do with the authority of the federal government anything you want to, because these people are not really even, they're only 3/5 of the person to begin with.
Remember what you said just a moment ago, in a fit of pique, or something to that effect. Muammar Gaddafi was killing his own people. Now, what national interest does the United States have in Libya? Zip, zero, nada. There's nothing going on there. Well, Hillary Clinton stuck her nose in it.
Mm-hmm.
There was a deal worked out where Gaddafi would stop killing his people. There were certain other things that would happen. It was all worked out. It was agreed to completely. Hillary Clinton, because of her hatred of Gaddafi, in a fit of pique said no, stuff it, and got Obama to let the bombers loose.
Mm-hmm.
And then when Gaddafi was killed, she danced on his grave. We came, we saw, he died.
Right. I thought that was totally undignified.
Okay. What else was she doing in Libya? She was funneling arms to ISIS in Syria through Libya.
Right.
She picked ISIS, and she was so mad about, good heavens, I lost his name now, the president of Syria, so-called president.
Assad?
Yeah, Assad.
Yeah.
Such a huge hatred of Assad that she was willing to arm ISIS to get Assad. And the question has to be asked, what national interest did the United States have then or now in Syria? Zip, zero, nada. So she created ISIS in a very literal sense.
She's playing games on the worldwide stage. Those wars over there cost trillions of dollars and thousands of American servicemen's lives. And we have absolutely nothing but a blown up half the Middle East with mass waves of immigrants just flooding into Europe as a result. And to her, it's not even an issue. It doesn't even rate with her. Like, hey, well, now we're going to manipulate. We're going to move this person over here. We're going to fund these people over there. It's like this little chess game, and she don't know how to play.
Well, let's get real. When Saddam Hussein invaded Kuwait, what interest did we have in kicking him out of Kuwait? Zip, zero, nada. It wasn't our fight. We have to learn to say that's not our fight. Mm-hmm. Saudi Arabia, you got a problem with it? Fine. You got some fancy toys to go pull into the battle? Go for it. We're not here. Not our problem. Instead, we have people who want to be in the middle of everything. And I hesitate to say this because it sounds tinfoil hat, but I really believe what they're doing is paying off their buddies on Wall Street, because their buddies on Wall Street own huge chunks of the military industrial complex. Who used that term? Was it Kennedy? But, They are investors in Lockheed Martin and Boeing and whoever else.
Wars are profitable.
Okay. And if you've read the Creature from Jekyll Island, a wonderfully documented book, they want the war because they make money off of it. Like the Rothschilds financed both sides of World War I and World War II.
Yeah, and you also have the wag the dog scenario going on too, which happened when Bill Clinton's administration. And chances are it happened again under Hillary.
How much do we not know? But the point here is we've got no business there. But Hillary very specifically took a peace deal, shredded it, and then she got involved in sending arms to ISIS.
So which do you think she would be more dangerous at? Her bizarre character issues or her medical condition? If you had to pick, which would you rather have? But now we got both of them, and who knows what kind of thing that's going to...
I don't know how you separate those two. I don't know how to separate
Well,
that.
we're getting two. They said back in the 90s with the Clintons, you get 2 for 1. Well, with Hillary Clinton, we get 2 for 1 too. Her medical condition and her bizarre hatred for humans.
Yeah, well, the mental part of Parkinson's simply exaggerates what's already there.
If you and you said in the first hour, of course, you are not her treating physician, but what would you if you were? What would you do? What would you say? What would you prescribe?
The first thing I would prescribe is a 20-year-long vacation.
Yeah, I wish it 20 years ago too. I wish it started 20 years ago. All right, 20 years. Take it easy.
You say You are out of public life. You just go home, live out your life, be done with it. Don't do anything more. You're not capable of handling this stuff.
Now, see, this is where I give Richard Nixon some credit, because he didn't, he did what he did to embarrass but he did not want to taint the Oval Office. He respected that enough to step down. Hillary does not respect it enough. She wants that no matter what. It is a condition.
What you're getting into, though, is the question of why is she wanting that? She is a professional politician. This is something James Q. Wilson talked about 10, 12 years ago. And the professional politician is Frank Underwood from the House of Cards. He wants to be where the deals are made. Because if he's right there and the deals have to go through him, he gets his cut. Whether it's in money, whether it's in favors that somebody owes him down the line, power, whatever, he gets a cut of every deal. And the important thing is that a deal gets made. He doesn't care what's in the deal. As a matter of fact, ideology gets in the way of making deals. And so, for example, when you had the House Freedom Caucus say, no, we're not signing off on whatever it was, all of a sudden you couldn't make a deal with the devil. They said, no, it's wrong. We were elected to stand against that. Well, principles, we can't live with principles. They're a problem. And she is a professional politician. What did she do in the White House to start with? She made deals. What did she do in Arkansas? She was making deals. She was getting paid off for deals. She gets to the White House. She's busy making deals.
Right.
And
she made a deal for the travel office.
State Department, she walks in and sold everything that wasn't nailed down. You want to be an ambassador to a small country, a couple $100,000.
Right. And when the Clintons left,
company, $2 or $3 million.
And when the Clintons left the White House, they took everything that wasn't nailed down.
They stole over $200,000 worth of furniture.
Well, let me ask you something.
When she left the State Department, she stole $50,000 worth of furniture.
Let me ask you something. Is there a psychosis or psychology that she wanted, and as far as I know, she was planning on being the president when she first met Bill and hitched to his wagon and looked at him as the vehicle to get her what she really wanted. Once she attains that, is there any sort of psychological letdown because now she has it, now what?
No, because she'll keep making deals.
Just keep making deals, and that'll medicate her because there is no further height that she can go to.
Right. Her goal is to be where the deals get made. And once she gets there, to stay where the deals get made. That's all that matters.
So you're saying we're going to get 8 years. Is that what you're saying, Doctor?
No, she's going to, if she gets in, she'll try to make it 2 terms.
Right, 8 years.
Unless her illness becomes so obvious that she can't do it.
So is there a level then that medications will not work?
Okay, remember that the medications, once again, they vary in how long they last, and they never last long enough for a full day. It doesn't happen.
Really?
And when she puts in a full day here, basically, if she has more than 2 or 3 appointments in a day, she's working too hard for her disease. She has to bail out and go rest. She may work a couple of days in a row, but then she has to go rest. And you look at her schedule. The longest sequence she was seen daily in recent months is maybe 3 days in a row, and then she's gone for several days.
Well, her spokespeople will plainly say, oh, she needs to go to Camp David, or she's busy in her office working. Of course, she could be somewhere in a back room, on a bed somewhere. But so they can hide that pretty good, just like that. She's working so hard. That's why you haven't seen her.
No. Here's the thing. If you start looking, let's suppose she gets in, you're going to have a visitor log for the Oval Office. It's going to show a lot fewer visitors. And you look and you say, well, Obama saw this many, Bush saw that many. You start looking at it, and she's seeing 20%.
Interesting.
You go, hey, what's going on here?
Yeah.
And is she showing up for her morning security briefing every morning, 15 minutes? Is she there for that? There are a lot of things where you're going to look at it and you're going to go, we got a problem here. The question is, at what point do the Democrats allow her to be removed. Because remember, impeachment requires 2/3 of the Senate. Mm-hmm. It's an intentionally difficult proposition. Mm-hmm. And the other choice would be resignation, and the Democrats would have to have a come to Jesus meeting with her mm-hmm. and say, look, it's very clear, you've got to step down. What? You got there, you were the first woman president. Now, you can't do the job, let Tim Kaine take it.
Well, it's my belief the Democrats don't really know Jesus, so they probably wouldn't have that meeting. But if pow, how'd you like that one?
That was good.
But no, I mean, smashing cell phones and deleting records and giving uranium to the Russians.
Destruction of justice.
Right. These things haven't moved the Democrats one daggone bit, Doctor. What would it take for them to say, wait a minute, whoa, Hillary, that's it. We can't go this way. I mean, I can't even imagine nuclear war.
If APS comes up with a very firm, yes, she's got something neurologic wrong, mm-hmm. then that is going to come straight to the news media. Hannity's going to have it. Others are going to pick up the story. And a neurologic illness that she's been concealing is going to move a whole bunch of voters.
Mm-hmm. What do you think about Tim Kaine? I mean, I saw him clapping like a monkey when Hillary was having one of her coughing spells one time. Did you see that video? She was in Ohio. He's back in the back row. He's clapping and stuff, and she coughs for 4 minutes, and everybody runs on stage trying to give her a lozenge of some kind. I didn't see where he was any kind of presidential timber.
No, he's not. He's just a rough and tumble lefty. I don't have much respect for the man.
Mm-hmm. We really haven't gone conspiracy enough. So let me hit you with this one. You might hang up on me, but listen, I'm just relaying this over here. Does Michelle Obama exhibit any sign of male physiology? Okay, next question. I knew it. Next question.
By the way, Michelle Obama offends me visually. I try not to look at her for any reason. Mm-hmm. She doesn't wear clothes well. She's not a particularly attractive woman, and I'm sorry. Her politics offend me as well.
And looked like she can kick the crap out of people if she wanted to. So I wouldn't mess with her.
I just don't go there.
Yeah, well, I didn't think you did there. Okay, so what are the signs that we're going to see? You think between now and election day with Hillary Clinton? She's just going to continue. She can continue to hide.
When she does come out, the things we're really going to see are the crossed eyes. That's going to come again and again. She's proven that she cannot hide that.
Does Michael J. Fox exhibit that condition?
I haven't looked for that with him. He has some very pronounced dyskinesias where his head's moving around a bit pretty constantly and so on. Mm-hmm. He has some very pronounced dyskinesias that are a real problem for him. And by the way, Michael J. Fox is doing wonderful work with his foundation. Oh. Anybody with Parkinson's needs to go to the Michael J. Fox Foundation website. Mm-hmm. There are a huge number of resources there. Mm-hmm.
That's nice, man. I'll tell you what, sometimes we're handed things in life and if we can either be jaded by them or we can step up and say, well, okay, what can I learn from this and how can I help others? And I think that's the best thing about life in anything that happens to somebody. How can I help others from what I've learned? That's awesome.
I mean, it's a horrible disease and current estimates on the low end are 1 million Americans with it. Other estimates are as high as 3 million with a large number that aren't diagnosed because people aren't looking for it.
Well, Dr. Ted Noel, let me ask you this question about that then. What is the genesis of the progenitor of the disease? Is it nutritional? Is it hereditary? Is it the environment?
Okay. There are 2 genes which are known to, generally speaking, lead to Parkinson's, but they only account for somewhere between 3 and 5% of Parkinson's patients. There are a handful of other genes that are what you might call permissive. They make it easier to get it. Mm-hmm. And by the time you add all of those together, we might get 15 or 20%. I don't remember the exact number. The rest of Parkinson's is what we call idiopathic. It just means we don't know why you get it. Mm-hmm. And like I said before, there is no treatment for it. Now, there is a group called the Quiet Mind Foundation that's doing some research on near infrared light therapy, which is holding some promise in the disease to actually modify the disease itself.
Well, that's a good point there, because what does blue shaded glasses have to do?
Okay. The blue glasses originally, somebody stumbled into this. It's called serendipity. Somebody stumbled into the fact that wearing blue glasses changed dyskinesias. Think about it this way. What's inside here is, at least in one respect, a giant computer.
Okay.
And if you have Parkinson's disease, the movements and stuff that are coming out of the computer in response to your environment are messed up. So you're getting a bad output. Well, you can't replace the memory boards. You can't replace the input-output boards. You got what you got. So what you can do is you can change what's being input to that computer. And it turns out that those glasses, and the ones Hillary were wearing, are Zeiss Z1 F133 blues, which happen to be only sold in Europe. But there are other blue ones you can get in the U.S. And the basic idea is, by changing the input to the computer from what would be just here with white light, by changing it this way, you end up changing what comes out of the computer. And on one of my videos, I took a piece of a video from the web of a gentleman with just horrendous dyskinesias. He's sitting here with his head going like this all the time. And I just got dizzy doing that. Sorry. And while his head's going like that, he manages to get hold of a pair of blue glasses, put them on, and all of a sudden his head stops doing that. And where he had trouble walking, all of a sudden he could walk smoothly. And basically, you're changing what goes into the computer so what comes out of it's more normal.
But the fact is that Hillary had those glasses on 9/11.
She also had them on Memorial Day at Chappaqua.
It's not because she's trying to look like John Lennon. It's because she needs those.
If you look at the rest of the photography around the memorial, she's the only person wearing sunglasses at all.
Hey, somebody sent a question. Guest 535 sent a question: is why don't doctors prescribe smoking for Alzheimer's and Parkinson's patients? Is that even a thing?
I'm not aware that smoking does anything good for anybody except the tobacco companies.
I was going to say, is that even a thing? All right. Okay. Well, we have an election here in a couple of weeks, Doctor, and there are a lot of people need this information, and certainly we're going to put it up on our YouTube channel, and you're more than welcome to grab the video and put it anywhere you want to. As a matter of fact, you also are an author, and you've got at least 3 books out there. Why don't you tell the folks about those books?
Well, they're not about medical stuff. I happen also to be a theologian, and I have published 3 books on end times. The first one was in 2002 titled I Want to Be Left Behind. Then later on, I did a primer on the book of Daniel and a primer on the book of Revelation. Now, I Want to Be Left Behind was stimulated by seeing the Left Behind books in a local Christian bookstore.
Okay.
And long story, basically, I ended up with a book where I'm challenging the theology of the secret rapture. And I'll just put it bluntly. I believe that that whole theological construct is dangerous theological nonsense, because the Bible teaches that when Jesus returns, it's once for everybody. It's not, I'm going to grab these and give you guys 7 years to figure it out. It's once for everybody. The reasons why you have the other construct come from a fellow named Ralph Nelson Darby, who in 1830 was attending prophecy conferences at Lady Powerscourt's home in England, and he was stimulated to read where in Galatians, where he somehow thought, the church and Israel are completely separate, and he starts digging back through Daniel, and he goes, based on certain dates, the 70 weeks end this way, and the 70th week hasn't gone. Without going through all the detail, there are really solid reasons not to believe that. The fundamental question really revolves around who, by the way, is Israel, and that's chapter 2 in the book. And just to put it simply, there are around 8 biblical definitions of the word Israel, and each one is context dependent. Now, I want to be left behind is a little bit formal because it's doing a somewhat formal task. The primer on the book of Revelation, the primer on the book of Daniel are companion volumes, and they are written in a very casual style. I've tried to make them in conversational English almost. Mm-hmm. And when I use a technical term, I'll put it in a box where you can see what I'm talking about and whatnot. And loosely, they're designed for the butts in the seats, hopefully to pass through the brain on the way. Mm-hmm. And I emphasize context again and again and again. You know, what is the context of the book of Daniel? It's all about the covenant. So when we interpret the prophecies, it's all about the covenant. When I go to Revelation, you can't read that book without your yarmulke. It is the most Jewish of all books in the Bible. Oh. And so when you look at it, you have to read it like a first century Jew so that you understand what Jesus says in the first verse. Literally in the Greek it says the revealing of Jesus Christ. That's the subject. Then the next clause says, which he revealed to his servant John by way of symbols. That's literally what the Greek says. 2 years of biblical Greek, you begin to learn how it works. That's literally what it says. It already tells us that a hyper-literal approach, where the locusts are real locusts, or maybe they're black helicopters or whatever else, is not how God intends us to read that book. He intends for us to go back and look at what the Old Testament tells us about symbols. For example, the locusts in the fifth and sixth trumpets. One of the things they have is hair, like a woman's hair. Mm-hmm. That's part of a parody. You have the chaste woman of Revelation 12. You have the harlot in Revelation 17. You have flip sides, opposites. So what you have here is hair like a woman's hair. That means it's not a woman's hair, it's a man's hair. But woman's hair is long. So you have long hair on a man. What is it pointing to? Nazarites. Samson, long hair. Mm-hmm. They were the most pious of the pious.
Okay,
they were wearing Stephanoi, crowns. That's Stetsons? An overcomer's crown.
Did you say
That's
Stetsons?
An overcomer's crown. It's not a king's crown. Made of, that were like gold. It doesn't say of gold. Remember in the messages, to him who overcomes, I'll give a crown of gold, a Stephanos of gold. Mm-hmm. These are like gold. So they are false overcomers. See, this is the parody. And these are parts of the things that you do as you start to understand that what was revealed to John is presented in pictures that any observant Jew would understand from his own literary history.
Wow. So you're kind of a theologian too as well.
Yes.
So how would you apply theology to the whole election process? And let's in a few minutes we have left, spiritually speaking, are we getting what we deserve as a nation? Say between these two candidates, for one, the president, the previous president, or the exiting president. Is there a spiritual component that is causing that?
There's a spiritual component called man's humanity. The heart is deceitful and continuously wicked. Who can know it? Mm-hmm. That's man's humanity. Mm-hmm. And without God, we go nowhere. But to say that there is a prophetic purpose for America is probably stretching Scripture beyond where it takes us. Mm-hmm. Yes, we want people to become disciples of Christ. But we also need to remember what the word disciple means. And for that, I point people to a website, preservingbibletimes.org. Mm-hmm. Doug Greenwald, fabulous work. And he points out that the word disciple in his book, Making Disciples Jesus' Way, that word disciple isn't anything like how we use it today. And so if we're going to talk about the Great Commission, go make disciples, we first have to understand the word the way Jesus was using it. Then we can start on the rest of the story. Mm-hmm.
Is it necessary to know the Greek or the Hebrew to understand the Scriptures?
No. The Westminster Confession makes it very clear that those things which are most important in Scripture are so perspicuous, as the confession says. That is so clear that even the simplest reader can understand them. What do you need to know? You need to know Jesus loves me. He died on the cross for me. He's coming to get me. The only piece of prophecy I need is John 14, 1-3. I go to prepare a place for you, and if I go to prepare a place for you, I will come again and receive you unto myself, that where I am, there you may be also. That's all the prophecy I have to have.
Wow. Well, it sounds like with that, a person can find their way to God's salvation plan and to the next life.
Absolutely. I mean, but Paul says those other things were written down were there for our enlightenment. They're valuable, but you have to start with the simple things. Stay with the simple things. Always let the simple explain the less simple.
Is that where it says also that the simple things confound the wisdom of the wise?
Oh, I can't pull that citation off the top of my head, but yes, it does. And I mean, that sounds like something out of the Proverbs. But it's a very real thought. And the key is, unless you're like a child, how can you enter in? You need to understand the simple things the way a child understands them.
Well, as it says, unless you become as a little child, you shall in no way enter into the kingdom of heaven. So, all right. Well, Dr. Ted Noel, we're getting right at the end of the broadcast. Outstanding information tonight, and a pleasant interview with you. I really appreciate you coming on the show. Anything you'd like to say about your books again, or your website, or any other website you recommend?
The books are on Amazon. Just look up Ted Noel, Noel, just like Christmas. You'll see them. They're available through Amazon. Website is vidzett, vidzette.com. And everything that I've done related to the election has been posted there.
Okay. All right, Dr. Ted, how'd you like the interview tonight?
I had a good time.
Good deal. Can we have you back again sometime?
Certainly.
I appreciate it. We're going to let you go, Dr. Ted Noel. Thanks for coming on the Edge television broadcast.
And you're most welcome.
All right. Good evening. All right, everybody. That was Dr. Ted Noel being on the Edge television broadcast. If you missed any of the exciting show, it will begin to replay in our main player directly after the program. And bye-bye, everybody. One more time. I thought I'd just log in. Hey, I can do it. Daniel Ott for the Edge. Bye-bye, sweetie, and to everyone else, logging off and see you next week.